Welcome to Waking Up to God's Love with John and Sue Love, along with spiritual seekers asking questions. The time is now. It's time to wake up to all the lies. It's time to remember who you are and to know that there is a power greater than you. This podcast is all about the awakening process and how to reach the fifth dimension. But what does waking up to God's love have to do with entering the fifth dimension? Everything. Now, after the podcast, be sure to check out our free website, www.wakinguptogodslove.com. And please be sure to like us and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Hi, I'm Sue.
And I'm John, and welcome to Waking Up to God's Love podcast. Today's episode is number 11, called The Narcissism Epidemic. Now, doing the last 4 episodes, number 7, 8, 9, and 10, has really transformed our lives.
In all the years we spent doing our inner work and healing ourselves, we never realized just how much we had been lied to, duped, programmed, and brainwashed.
Yeah.
What we realized and learned was, as we were waking up from the lies and actually waking up to the truth, we felt this feeling inside of us, and at first we didn't know what it was.
Yeah, and then God told us it was the lifting of the spell that man had put on us, and that as we wake up to the truth, we will know more truth. And the more truth we wake up to, the more we will be able to break the spell and be free.
And then we'll be free to choose God's law or rules. Yes, man put a spell on everyone, and it's been going on for centuries. We were programmed how to think, how to feel, how to act, what to believe, and the list goes on.
Yeah. Now, the spell of man is what God calls man's law. And one way of promoting it is by creating narcissism in our society.
In other words, God says the spell is part of being in the third dimension, and that man created the man's law, so we will follow and obey. This supports the third dimension.
Yes, it does.
That is why they have brainwashed us, so that they can have control and power over us. Now, we could talk more about this, and we will in future episodes, but we want to talk more about our topic today, and that is
the Narcissism Epidemic. But some may ask, what does waking up to God's love have to do with narcissism?
everything. There is a saying, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And that is so true.
Yes, it is.
Actually, there are 2 things that will set you free. Knowing the truth and God.
Yes, God.
In episode 10, we shared how to overcome being brainwashed and how John and I were waking up. And God finally told us the truth about ourselves that we had no idea. We were shocked.
Oh, we sure were. God told us that I am a narcissist and that Sue is a narcissist enabler. Now, in our research, we found that they say narcissism is incurable, and the best you can do is learn how to deal with it.
We felt defeated.
We sure did. But then God told us we can cure it, and God will show us how, and that God wants us to share with you how you can heal being a narcissist and a narcissist enabler. Now, in our next episode, we'll share more in detail of our own personal journey of how to cure narcissism.
But right now, we want to share what it is and how it affects everyone.
Yes. So, narcissist is a term used to describe a person with certain personality traits. The traits include feeling superior to everyone,
Controlling everyone,
dominating conversations,
bragging,
having things their way,
needing attention, validation, approval, and praise.
being unable to handle criticism.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, it sure was with me. Continuing on, an inability to apologize, accept blame, or responsibility.
Believing everyone thinks and feels like they do.
Yeah, being very selfish.
lacking empathy and compassion for others, and not being able to understand the feelings of others.
Boy, I can identify with those guys. The narcissist has at the core a very strong ego.
Now, there are other traits as well, but I think you get the idea.
Yeah, the narcissist is all about themselves, and they don't care about people, period.
You know what bothers me the most about
narcissism?
Is that people don't care about each other anymore. I believe the lack of caring is the true epidemic.
I would agree. Now, many of these traits are shared with the average person, and having a few of these traits show up from time to time does not make one a narcissist. It's when you have a majority of these traits and they shape how you are in the world that it becomes a mental disorder. Now, as you might guess, being in a relationship with a narcissist is typically a very one-sided affair.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, and interestingly, the ones who tend to find themselves in a relationship with a narcissist are empaths and highly sensitive individuals.
I know for me, I am both an empath and highly sensitive.
Yes, you are. Now, in any event, being in a relationship with a narcissist can be extremely challenging and painful, as Sue can attest to.
God, isn't that the truth?
Yeah. Again, the experts claim that narcissism is incurable. And that may be because there is no pill to give them that will change their behavior. The only approach offered in our society is to do talk therapy with a trained professional with the goal of modifying the behavior so it's not so predominant or destructive. Now, one of the recognized experts on narcissism, Jean M. Twenge, PhD, claims that we have an epidemic of narcissism underway.
I agree with Jean.
Now, this raises some interesting questions. Why? Why is narcissism on the rise? Why is empathy declining?
Those are good questions, John.
Yes, they are. And are there bigger society level factors contributing to this trend? We believe there are. So, as we take a step back and look at our society with an objective, critical eye, we recognize that our society is contributing to this rise in narcissism at both the individual level and also at the society level. At the individual level, we encourage and reward personal achievement and being the best at something more than being a valuable member of a successful team.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah. For example, in sports, all anyone cares about is being number one, even if it means cheating. And the narcissist always has to be the winner. And if not the winner, the narcissist makes excuses and blames others.
So isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Well, how about the workplace?
Well, in the workplace, it can be trickier because many narcissists are good at manipulating people and taking credit for someone else's good work. As a general rule, a narcissist is not afraid to climb the corporate ladder on top of the backs of others without any regard to how many he or she hurts along the way.
You mean they don't have any conscience?
That's right. Winning and being the best is all that matters, regardless of the cost. So narcissists are quite often found at the top of the business hierarchy. And then, because the narcissist believes everyone thinks like them and that they are always right, they tend to make decisions and run their business in a narcissistic way.
Can you give me another example?
Yes. For example, have you ever heard someone in business say, "It's not personal, it's only business," after doing something that benefited them at a tremendous cost to another?
I have, and that has always upset me and bothered me.
Yes. And if you step back and look at the national level, if you closely examine how governmental decisions are made, you will see that narcissism is rampant throughout government, from politicians voting themselves raises while others are suffering, to enacting tax and spending policies that benefit themselves and special interest groups that give them money while hurting the average worker and taxpayer. Our culture, even at its core, is highly narcissistic. We Americans consider our way of life to be the best. We consider our economic and political systems to be the best. And we have so much ego that as we travel around the world, we expect everyone to know our language, English. We try and control the rest of the world, and we bully other nations into submission when they resist. We do sanctions and embargoes to punish them economically for not going along with what we want. If they resist too strongly, we even flex our military might and threaten or even invade their country. We are the narcissistic bullies of the world.
I never thought of it that way, but it's true.
Yes, it is. So the point we're trying to make is that our entire society is built around, supports, and encourages narcissism at every level. If you doubt it, then step back and carefully examine how things are done in business, in sports, in government, schools, religion, TV programming, as well as in advertising.
It's amazing how we are being so programmed.
Yeah. So if you stop for a moment and reflect on the values our society promotes and compare those values to the traits associated with narcissism, you will notice some interesting parallels.
They are almost the same, aren't they?
Yes. Our society promotes competition, rewards selfishness and self-centeredness, personal accomplishments and achievements, and supports having a very strong ego. The programming is very subtle and is widespread, even into the TV shows we watch. And this programming is not limited to adult viewers, but is even included in cartoons. For example, the long-running TV show The Simpsons is laced with narcissism. There's a great article on the narcissism dynamics in The Simpsons by Josiah Meyer that is very enlightening.
It's so sad to see how many young kids are being programmed.
Now that we have shown how our nation and our society are highly narcissistic, we can start to understand why empathy is declining and narcissism is increasing in our society.
The bottom line is,
Narcissists
do not care about others. They only care about themselves.
Yeah.
We'll be sharing more about this in future episodes.
Yeah. It's interesting to note that the values of our society are actually very similar to the observed values of the third dimension.
Yes, it is.
You see, in the third dimension, the focus is on self, as opposed to the greater good of all humanity. The third dimension is full of striving for more money, more power, more control, more fame, more possessions, etc. Always striving for more. We could go on and on about the parallels, but I think you get the idea.
It's so amazing to see how similar they are.
Yes, it is. And in our opinion, narcissism is the ultimate expression of what the third dimension is all about. It is the ultimate expression of the ego in control. As God has said to us numerous times, it is time to leave the third dimension and to choose God over ego. So, with narcissism being the ultimate expression of both the third dimension and ego, you can see how important it is to address and heal narcissism if you want to enter the fifth dimension.
It's so important.
So the question becomes, how do I heal narcissism? Now, as we mentioned previously, the experts say that narcissism is incurable.
Why do they consider it incurable?
Well, they have no pill to give you to undo the programming that our society has done. In fact, the professionals don't even recognize how our society has caused this rise in narcissism. And even if they did, they would attempt to use talk therapy or some other mental approach to address the issue. God is telling us that the only way to cure narcissism is with God's help.
That is so true.
Yes, it is. So stop and think about it for a moment. God is unconditional love. And what is it that the narcissist is totally lacking? Unconditional love. The narcissist only loves when it's convenient or when it somehow serves the self-interest of the narcissist. Now, the characteristics of unconditional love include compassion and empathy. Both of these traits are completely missing in the narcissist. Additionally, Because God is the creator of all that exists, then it reasons that God actually created narcissism. Now, at first glance, that may surprise you.
How can that be?
Well, if you keep in mind that Earth is a school designed to help us grow, learn, and evolve, it actually makes perfect sense to create narcissism as an experience to give us the opportunity to experience extreme selfishness, etc. You see, by experiencing the extreme emotional detachment that narcissism is, we get the opportunity to feel how out of balance we are and to choose to become less self-absorbed and more loving and caring about others. So the challenge then becomes, how do we cure this supposedly incurable mental disorder? The answer is by bringing God into the equation.
After all, we are told over and over again that with God and ourselves, nothing is impossible.
That's right. With God and ourselves, nothing is impossible. Now, in our next episode, number 12, we will address how to heal narcissism. That episode is called Curing the Incurable with God. So, back to our question from before. What does narcissism have to do with waking up to God's love?
Everything.
As you can see, our country has created narcissism as a way of life. Our society has been teaching and programming people to be narcissistic for a very long time, and it has now become normal to be narcissistic. And then again, experts say that narcissism is incurable. And why is that?
Number one, there is no pill to give you.
That's right. Number two, if society wants you to be a narcissist by teaching you to be one, why would they want you to be healed of it?
That's a good one question. Yeah. 3, they have taken God out of the picture.
Oh, yes, they sure have taken God out of the picture. And why? Because they wanted to disconnect us from God and disempower us by putting the fear of God in us. That makes it easier for them to program us to be narcissistic.
Society has been programming us to shut down our heart, to not feel our emotions, to not care about each other, and to only think about ourselves, and mostly to take God out of our lives.
Yes.
They don't want us to have our own connection with God. They don't want us to feel God's love. Because if we did feel God's love, our heart would be open. We would actually feel love, and we would care about each other.
That is so true. Now, interestingly, many prophecies say that what we are experiencing today is the beginning of the end times. That means the end of the third dimension and man's law. We must let go of the old in order to bring in the new.
Third dimension is all about greed, corruption, control, power, etc.
It sure is. Man's law is all about controlling and having power over us, including narcissism. You see, narcissism is all about me. Look at me. I'm better than you. I don't care about you. I did nothing wrong, etc.
In business, it's all about the money. They don't care about hurting people. They just want to make a profit because they value money more than they value people.
Yes. Now, as a country, we think we are number one. And our country likes to think that we are the biggest and most powerful, and we like to control everyone. God says this is all a part of the third dimension, which will be disappearing because Mother Earth, Gaia, is raising her vibration to a higher frequency of love, and everything about third dimension, including narcissism, has nothing to do with love.
That's right. Waking up to God's love is all about love.
Yes.
As you connect with God and you are able to feel God's love, you automatically raise your vibration in love. Waking up to God's love is all about entering the fifth dimension.
Yes.
The fifth dimension is all about love, having your heart open, caring about each other, being of service to each other, and even helping each other, as well as having harmony, joy, peace, unity, etc.
Yes, it is. Now, where does narcissism fit in?
It doesn't.
So, if you're a narcissist who is seeking to reach the fifth dimension, you are going to have to change your behaviors and heal them so that your heart can be filled with love. And then you need to raise your vibration in love.
As we shared in an earlier episode, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. Now, in our opinion,
A narcissist?
is a bad apple, meaning that
Narcissistic behavior
is not consistent with the fifth dimension being all about love and caring about each other.
Yeah. So here's the question. Is it possible for a narcissist to enter the fifth dimension?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know either, but I don't think so. That is why I am so committed to curing it in myself so I can make it to the fifth dimension.
And I am so thankful that John is so committed.
Yeah. Now, experts tell us that narcissism is incurable.
Yet God is telling us that you can cure it. And the only way to cure it is in 5 ways.
First is God. There is no other way to heal narcissism. You need God.
Yes, yes, yes.
Second, you've got to recognize that you are a narcissist. And as I can attest to, this is very hard to admit and acknowledge.
Third, you're going to have to use your free will and choose to make a commitment to yourself and God, because it will take a lot of work and determination.
It sure will. Fourth, it will be important, if you can, to have someone to support you. Have someone be willing to be your witness who will point out to you when you are being a narcissist so that you can be accountable and responsible for your own behavior. And Sue, I am so glad you are doing that for me.
Yes. It's not always easy, but
Nope.
yes. But it's been kind of fun. Fifth, know that no one can fix you.
Yep.
This is only between you and God. However, if you get the nudging from God to go get professional help, then by all means, do it.
Yes, by all means do it. In our next episode, both Sue and I will be sharing our own personal journey of how we are healing from me being a narcissist and Sue being an enabler. It's not just that we need to heal the narcissist. The enabler needs lots of healing too. Sue has been an enabler her whole life. It's what she was taught and programmed to be. So Sue will share how to overcome being an enabler. But again, Sue cannot do it by herself. Sue needs God to help her also.
Yes, I do need God. What we have found to be true about the enabler is that most of them are empaths and highly sensitive, and I am both.
Yes, you are.
Now, our job is not to fix you or save the world, but to give you hope and guidance. God is telling us to be God's messengers, to plant seeds, point you back to God, and then it's between you and God.
Yes, it is. So, again, in our next episode, number 12, we will address how to heal narcissism. That episode is called Curing the Incurable with God. And in that, we will be sharing from our own personal journey of healing being a narcissist and an enabler, and share how with God we can cure narcissism.
Be sure to like us and follow us so you never miss a single episode. And please share this podcast with your friends and family. Remember to check out our free website, wakinguptogodslove.com. There is so much valuable information in the website.
There sure is. And as we've shared before, this podcast and our website are both free. And if what we have shared has touched your heart and you feel guided to give, we would greatly appreciate any donation.
God is reminding me to tell you that God loves you and you are never, ever alone.
Thank you for joining us today and being a part of our life, and may your heart be filled with God's love.
We hope you have enjoyed our podcast today. Please be sure to go to our free website and check out everything that Waking Up to God's Love has to offer. The website is www.wakinguptogodslove.com. If you have enjoyed this podcast, then please share with friends and family. And we want to remind you to please like us and follow us so that you don't miss a single episode. And as we shared before, this podcast and our website are both free, so we would greatly appreciate any love donation. God is reminding me to tell you that God loves you and you are never ever alone. Until next time.